In 1932, the Australian military declared war. They deployed soldiers, they brought machine guns, they had a strategy, and they lost. To birds, not hawks, not cassowaries, no, they lost to emus, big, dopey, flightless birds that look like someone glued a feather duster to an ostrich. Welcome to the Great Emu War, one of the most chaotic, humiliating, and genuinely hilarious events in recorded military history. And yes, it is completely real. Let's get into it. To understand why Australia went to war with birds, you have to understand the Campion district of Western Australia in the early 1930s. After World War I, the Australian government made a promise to returning soldiers: land. Specifically, farmland in Western Australia's wheat belt, a flat, sun-baked stretch of country perfect for growing crops. These veterans packed up, moved out, and started farming. And for a while, things were okay. Then two things happened. First, the Great Depression hit, and wheat prices collapsed. These farmers were already struggling financially, and now their product was worth almost nothing. Second, and this is where things get weird, the emus showed up. Every year, around 20,000 emus would migrate north along the Western Australian coast, completely natural. But as farmland expanded into their migration corridor, the emus started doing what animals do, going where the food is, and the food was the farmers' crops. They would crash through fences, trample wheat fields, and eat everything in sight. Thousands of them, descending on farms that were already barely surviving. The farmers were desperate, so they did what any reasonable person would do. They asked the army to bring machine guns. The farmers petitioned the government, and remarkably, the government said yes. In November 1932, Major G.P.W. Meredith of the Royal Australian Artillery arrived in Campion with 2 soldiers, 2 Lewis guns, light machine guns capable of firing 500 rounds per minute and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. The plan seemed foolproof. Lure the emus to a dam, wait for them to gather in a big group and open fire. Thousands of birds, minimal effort, problem solved. Except the emus had other ideas. The first engagement was on the 2nd of November 1932. The soldiers set up near a dam and waited. Around 50 emus wandered close enough. They opened fire. The emus scattered immediately. Before the soldiers could do real damage, the flock split into dozens of smaller groups and ran in every direction. The machine guns couldn't track them. Result, a handful of birds dead, thousands escaped. They tried again. Same story. Then it rained. The operation was called off because the guns got bogged in the mud. The military withdrew after less than a week. They came back on the 10th of November, round 2. This time Major Meredith tried mounting one of the Lewis guns on a truck so they could chase the emus across the open fields. It did not work. The terrain was too rough. The truck bounced so violently that the gunner couldn't aim. An emus, it turns out, can run at up to 50 kilometers per hour. The truck couldn't keep up. Meredith started to sound genuinely impressed. He reportedly noted that the emus seemed to have a leader. One bird would act as a scout, raise the alarm, and the whole mob would scatter before the soldiers could react. They couldn't be herded, they couldn't be cornered. The ornithologist observing the campaign put it perfectly. He said, each emu seemed to have a plan. The Australian Army had a plan, the emus had a plan. One of those plans was better. By the end of November, the military had used roughly 2,500 rounds of ammunition to kill somewhere between 50 and 200 emus. Estimates vary, and nobody was exactly proud enough to count carefully. Members of Parliament started asking questions. One MP suggested the soldiers deserved a military medal, sarcastically. The media had an absolute field day. The Defence Minister officially refused any further military involvement. He did not want to lose to birds a third time. The farmers, still plagued by emus, asked for help again in 1934, 1943 and 1948. The government eventually responded, not with machine guns but with a bounty system and subsidised fencing. This actually worked. Turns out a big fence is more effective against emus than a Lewis gun. Major Meredith, reflecting on the campaign years later, compared the emus to Zulu warriors, noting they could absorb machine gun fire with the invulnerability of tanks. He meant it as a compliment to the emus. Let that sink in. The Great Emu War lasted roughly a month, cost thousands of rounds of ammunition, and ended in a full strategic withdrawal by the Australian Army. The official kill count is disputed. The emus did not issue a statement. What makes this story so perfect isn't just that it's funny, it's that it's a genuine reminder that nature doesn't care about your plans. These birds had been making that migration for thousands of years. A few blokes with guns weren't going to stop it. Australia eventually figured that out. The emus are still there. The wheat farms are still there, and everyone has more or less learned to coexist. But for one glorious month in 1932, a small corner of Western Australia hosted the most absurd military conflict in human history, and the emus won.